You might sing high, you might sing low. We need you singing in the choir. You might sing fast, you might sing slow. We need you singing in the choir. You might sing sharp, you might sing flat. We don't care one thing about that. Please don't leave, come on back. We need you singing in the choir. All together now, 1, 2, 3, everybody sing along. All together now, 1, 2, 3, feel the power of the song. As our voices blend together, hope keeps rising higher. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir. We might sing good, we might sing bad. We keep on singing in the choir. We forget all the blues we had when we're singing in the choir. We might sing big, we might sing small. It doesn't matter one bit at all. Everyone is standing tall when we're singing in the choir. All together now, 1, 2, 3, everybody sing along. All together now, 1, 2, 3, feel the power of the song. As our voices blend together, hope keeps rising higher. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir. Many voices fill the air, many melodies are sung. Inside the circle of the song, we are one. All together now, 1, 2, 3, everybody sing along. All together now, 1, 2, 3, feel the power of the song. As our voices blend together, hope keeps rising higher. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir. As our voices blend together, hope keeps rising higher. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir.
We are definitely all on the same page, singing in the choir. Bienvenue toutes. Welcome, everybody. And thanks, Carolyn Harley, for encouraging all of us to participate, for all of us to find our voice and to be part of the discussions in Canada, leading us forward. So don't forget Carolyn's famous 5 songs, the Ballad of the Famous 5 and the Spirit of the Famous 5. They're wonderful too. And now it's time for our land acknowledgement, because we are all treaty people. It's time we took a moment just to think about the authentic history of North America and to figure out how best for all of us to live together. This is one of the recommendations that the amazing Murray Sinclair and his team made in the call for reconciliation. So by doing that today, we have moved one step further. This month, May, is a very happening month. It's Asian Heritage Month, and it's called that because of the work of a tremendous famous 5 Foundation supporter, and of course others, who said it was time for us to recognize the contributions that Asian people had made to the building of Canada. And there are many. That particular leader was a former senator in Canada. It's the Honorable Vivian Poy. So thank you, Vivian Poy, for putting this idea forward and making it happen. May, I've just learned in the last 4 or 5 months, is also Menstruation Month. And today, thanks to our panel, we're going to learn about why we're aiming for menstrual equity and not menstrual equality. Now, many of you would have figured this out already. However, it took me a little while to figure out the difference. Today, though, is May the 5th, is known as the National Day of Awareness of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, as well as Two Spirits, LGBTQIA plus women. Today is Red Dress Day, an acknowledgement that was started by Métis artist Jamie Black. And I hope, like me, you are angry that more hasn't been done in this regard and that this is still happening. So red dress, red anything today to remember the missing and murdered Indigenous children and to call for more action. Well, the action you're going to see today is part of a different format for our virtual pink teas. We have decided to ask some young people in Canada, across Canada, to both develop and deliver a virtual pink tea. And today, in addition to the three people who are on the panel, also joining them will be the wonderful teacher who enabled the girls from West Island College to participate. And hooray for teachers. So a special thanks to Nicole MacArthur for her leadership in this regard. It's now time for me to call upon one of our superb directors of the Famous Five Foundation, our Director of Finance. Her name is Joan Valenti. Joan is a partner at RSM Canada, and she specializes in auditing not-for-profits and also charities. Joan is an avid sports fan, so of course is really pleased, even though she has to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning someday, that her children are involved with hockey and soccer. We are very grateful to Joan for all the advice that she gives us and the hard work in getting our statements ready on a daily basis. So now, over to you, Joan, and I'll be back in just a little while. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frances. RSM Canada is proud to be a supporter of the Famous Five Foundation and our virtual pink teas. The key questions today are: why should women and girls have to buy products to support a bodily function that we have no control over, which benefits society, and which only happens to our gender? And can we use products that don't end up in the landfills? Well, the answers to these questions and others will be shared by our panel today. Our trailblazer today is Jill Johnston, who is Days for Girls Canada's Advocacy Chair. Jill and her colleagues not only make life better for girls and women through their education program about menstruation, but they also provide sustainable, reusable menstruation kits in Canada and around the world. We are grateful to Jill and also the two academic leaders from West Island College, known as WIC, Sandrine Berezowski and Nicole MacArthur. They said, yes, we have girls who have researched this issue and other gender stereotypes and who want to participate. Today, Sophie and Kate are going to both pose and answer questions. Sophie is a grade 11 student at WIC and one of our VIP hosts today. Sophie was the president of the Fictional Literature Society and head videographer for the News Broadcasting Club. This enthusiastic volunteer is always willing to lend a helping hand. Also joining us today is Kate, another grade 11 student at WIC. Kate was vice president of the WIC Student Council, and her most recent adventure took her to New York City, where she met students from more than 100 countries who challenged her perspectives and expanded her horizons. Thank you, everyone. And now over to you, Sophie.
Thank you, Joan, for that wonderful introduction. And welcome everyone to a fascinating discussion on menstrual equity. I'm Sophie, and my wonderful co-host, Kate, today is Kate, We are very pleased to be leading the discussion today and are very glad that Jill Johnston from Days for Girls Canada was able to join us and answer our many questions. Thank you, Jill.
You're very welcome.
Jill, I think menstrual equity is a new concept for many girls and women. So why don't you begin this chat with how you would define menstrual equity?
I would like to do that, but first of all, I would like to thank both of you, Sophie and Kate, for your introduction, and also for the opportunity to join in this conversation today with your organization. On behalf of Days for Girls Canada, I am delighted to join the conversation. Menstrual equity is an issue that is fundamental and time sensitive. It's an issue for everyone, whether they menstruate or not. And because of that, that is because without menstruation, none of us would be here today. So to get to your question, to define menstrual equity, I would like to almost call upon the opposite by saying that menstrual equity is in fact the antithesis of period poverty. Menstrual equity means menstrual health for everyone, period.
Thank you. And within that, what does menstrual equity entail?
Well, menstrual equity is based on a definition of menstrual health. And menstrual health has an actual internationally recognized definition. It reads like this. I'll just actually read it word for word. Menstrual health, a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity in relation to the menstrual cycle. What that means, of course, is that everyone needs to have access to good information, truthful information, facts about menstruation. They need to have the kind of supplies and conditions that are needed for a healthy menstruation, which mean products, facilities, sanitation, and so on. They need access to medical care in terms of diagnosis and treatment. They need to have an environment to grow up in, which is positive and respectful about menstruation. And they need to have the opportunity to participate in all spheres of life during all phases of their menstrual cycles.
Okay, so thank you for that answer. So Kate and I recently led discussions. Oh, sorry.
With that, and why should we continue to aim for this menstrual equity that you just defined?
Well, thank you. That's a very big question. I'm glad we didn't miss that one. I share your nervousness. I'm sitting here thinking, what am I going to say right? So don't worry about that. The important thing is to get the message out. And we're all singing in the same choir, right? And right now we're singing the menstrual equity song. So why should we aim for menstrual equity? Well, first of all, menstrual health affects attendance and productivity at school and at work for millions of women around the world every day. It affects dignity on top of that. There's a whole thing about embarrassment and stigma and that sort of thing, which we'll probably address a little bit more later. Menstrual inequity stifles healthy development, both individual development and community development. We have learned that menstrual equity, I keep saying menstrual equity because I'm so used to saying it. We have learned that menstrual inequity, or period poverty, is a huge global issue. Too many people worldwide struggle to afford vitally necessary menstrual products. Even here in Canada, economic vulnerability due to the cost of menstruation is being recognized and acknowledged. But still, it's a big red elephant in many rooms, and it's a gender equity issue. Menstruation is a powerful and natural function, but for some reason, it remains shrouded in mystery, secrecy, shame, and negativity. If we look at the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, maybe you have heard of them and maybe you haven't, but there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Menstrual health is actually connected strongly to at least 9 of the 17 goals. They're called SGDs, Sustainable Development Goals. SDGs. As a result, menstrual health has been declared to be a matter of human rights. People agree upon that topic. That's that definition all around the world now, that menstrual health is a matter of human rights. Correcting this issue will come with a cost, but not correcting the issue will come with a greater cost.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. Kate and I recently led discussions within our school community where we asked students from grade 7 to 12 about their thoughts regarding menstrual equity. The responses frequently highlighted the need for education. A grade 10 student here at WIC named Addison has a question for Jill on education.
We are going to hear Addison's question now.
When researching period poverty, the topic of education comes up frequently. Why do you think that education regarding periods is an integral aspect of achieving menstrual equality?
That is a really, really good question. And as a former teacher, I can say that I have extra strong feelings about the importance of education. First of all, there are two different kinds of sections of the topic of education when it comes to menstrual equity. And one is the terminology itself. It's really important that people become aware of the correct terminology to be used to name body parts, but also to understand the terminology being used in this space, as they call it, such as using the word washable and in terms of menstrual products instead of reusable, for instance. Also, we now say people who menstruate. Some people use the term menstruator, others have their hard time getting their tongues around that one, but we don't say women and girls anymore because there are people who menstruate who do not recognize themselves as women or do not want to be identified as women. So that's the first part. And the second part is facts. It's really important that we give the facts to people who are learning about menstruation because the facts are what is desperately needed. Without the knowledge that these people need, the results are limitations and also acceptance of unhealthy customs. With education, so many new and exciting things are being learned. With education, widespread ignorance can be changed into widespread understanding.
Jill, we have a question for you. In regards to the education, how do you believe it would be best implemented into a school system? Because right now we have limited education in regards to menstrual equity in schools. There is a CALM program in high school that ends at grade 10, actually. We finish here in grade 10. And there is no really provincial mandate to discuss that. What steps do you see could be taken to ensure that that education is equal across all school divisions and provinces?
That's a big challenge in menstrual health education because health is a provincial issue government-wise, and so is education. And so it's a double whammy for menstrual health education. But the point I think that I've come to is to recognize that the secret is collaboration, getting together with other people and people, like-minded people. So provinces joining provinces. We in my world, in the advocacy world for menstrual equity in Canada, we have created an working committee. It's called the Federal Advocacy Working Committee. And so we have regular meetings, bi-monthly, in fact, where we inform each other of advances or problems in the areas that we're in, and we bounce ideas off one another, and we work together to communicate with the government. And so collaboration is a huge part of what's required. Also, education materials and the accessibility to them. I'd like to just show you the Days for Girls. It's called a flip book, and it's it's just a gold mine of information about menstruation. This is page 1, and while the girls that and it typically is girls because it's usually in Africa, and the boys have been taken off somewhere for this part of their education day. If they're lucky, they're with a man from the community who has a similar book called Men Who Know, and he is talking to them, which is a cut above where they've come from. We preferably here would prefer in Canada to have the students together, all learning together, and we're seeing more of that. But while in each page of this book, while the students that are watching or the learners are seeing this, I, on the other hand, have all the information that I can impart to them. So I don't have to have it memorized, but and each page works the same way. So it also has very explicit diagrams that are really, when we're doing these, we use this flip book in our Days for Girls distributions when we're actually distributing kits. And when the people that are in the recipient group see these things, they are gobsmacked. They have never seen anything like this. They have no idea that they each have one of these inside them. And it's a wonderful thing to see the learning growing inside them. Now, it's interesting because I tend to talk about that kind of learning, the learning that happens in Africa. But when I come home, I think to myself, wow, those girls now know more than a lot of our girls do here, because we don't really have that. I mean, you made reference to the fact that that's why you asked me this question. We don't really have that set kind of education that all the people who menstruate really need. And you know what? It's not just the people who menstruate who need it. It's the people who live with them, the people who love with them, the people who they produce in the world, and the people who produce them. We all need to learn more about it. It's so exciting to know what's happening in education in research right now. There are so many new things coming down in terms of education about menstrual health that it's just a wonderfully exciting time to be involved.
Thank you so much. You discussed like the education in the projects that Days for Girls has going on in areas like Africa. Another student at WIC, actually, Kira, had a question regarding how you ensure that the education and the products align with the local cultures there. So we'll hear this question from Kira now.
How does Days for Girls ensure the cultural appropriateness of their products in the communities they serve?
What a good question. And it gives me a chance to boast about Days for Girls, because this is what I love the most about the organization that I belong to. We start with a basic understanding, all of us, that we have respect for those we serve and respect for those with whom we serve. So no matter where we are, we respect everyone that's involved as we're working with people in terms of education for menstrual health and in terms of improving menstrual health itself. So first of all, we offer a very, very high quality product for menstrual care. It's a menstrual health kit that is all hand sewn, handmade, and I'll be showing you more in detail a little bit later. But it comes in a wonderful drawstring bag, which the girls can carry on their backs when they're on their way to and from school. And they love it because it's big enough to put in the meager educational supplies they also carry, typically a pencil and a couple of pieces of paper, if they're lucky. But so we start out by the fact that what we give them is a high quality product. And so instantly we're showing them a sign of respect. When I'm with my team, you can see all the stuff behind me. Those are the things we make, and as individual components. And each one of them is made with very, very precise sewing so that they are perfect. And if in our quality control, if I find someone on my team who is making an error in the sewing that changes the quality, then we tackle that problem right off. We have quality control so that every girl gets a kit that is perfect. And I always tell my people, just remember that this may be the first thing that this girl has actually owned in her entire life. And so they love them. They're brightly colored, as you could get, and you'll see more later, as I said, but they're brightly colored, they're attractive, and they're brightly colored so that they can hang them on their clotheslines and be proud of them and not have somebody say, oh, she's on her period. She's got those white rags with the red stains. They've got, stain buster fabrics that the stains are not very noticeable. So that's the first thing. But also during those distributions, we actually make sure that during the time that we're doing the distribution, we develop a kind and trust relationship with them. We use humor, but not so much humor that we're making fun of it or making too light of menstruation, just enough that they can see there's joy. We have a very positive and respectful and inclusive policy with Days for Girls. So we don't dwell on anything that is anything other than the actual menstruation process itself. And really importantly, we always involve local people in our distributions. So typically you would have a doctor or a nurse or a teacher, someone who is from the community, so that we are not seen as those white Santa Claus people who come and give away free stuff, those rich white people who come in. So we're just seen as being helpers, and we make a point of the recipients actually getting these things from the hands of someone in their community that they know and trust. And that makes a huge difference as well. We also use very careful wording and phrasing in our work with them. So just for instance, one of the things that we coin and we have the girls repeat it is no periods, no people. Because they don't understand that necessarily, that the fact that without periods, there would be no people. And so we make it simple. We don't make it a lecture. We just make it a joyful thing. No periods, no people. And we also give them that sense of power. This is something that I can do, and it's a positive thing. So that's a good thing. Our content in our education package is very professional in terms of accuracy of information, which is also important. And it's continually updated as things change and as knowledge grows. We're non-judgmental, and we're neutral and secular in all matters. So we don't hand these out with Bibles or with anything that suggests that they have to belong to any particular belief structure or anything like that, so that they know that this is just about menstruation, and it's worked for us. It's made us very nonpartisan and therefore very equal, accessible to everyone. So I think that pretty much sums that up, but I did want to have I got time to tell one little story?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It's sort of the epitome of why I love Days for Girls. So our founder is Celeste Mergens, and she started this all off many years ago. I think it's probably about 12 years now, when she was in Kenya. She was visiting an orphanage, and she found girls who were sitting on cardboard in the corner of the orphanage, in the corners of the orphanage room, because they had their periods, and they had to sit on the cardboard until their period was over. And this was just so foreign to anything that had ever crossed her mind about girls and menstruation. She had never thought about periods at that point. And so she asked, what can I do? And she actually went back to her people and she's an American. She went home and they quickly put together menstrual kits. And then she went back with the menstrual kits. And by giving them menstrual kits, and they were certainly not of the quality they are today, because that was a rush order and they really had no patterns. They just did as much as they could in as short a period of time. But she built that trust. And because it was an orphanage, it was good trust, because it wasn't families. It wasn't particular families some would get it and some who wouldn't. And everyone in the village recognized the need for the orphanage to get this kind of help. So she had developed this trust, which is the basis of everything. Well, then she learned that they had this experience, the girls had this experience of genital cutting when they were of period age, when they were at menarche. And so she decided that the community people asked her to see if she could talk to the people about it. And so she called the cutters into a meeting, and they came, but so did the rest of the people, the women especially from the community. And at this meeting, she just basically asked them about their practice. And while it's abhorrent to us, if you talk about, if you think about people having their clitoris removed or having the labia cut away, it's a pretty awful thought, but you can't be judgmental in these situations. And because she had built up the trust, she was able to ask them questions. And she said, what do you do before you cut? And they told her about the ceremony and the bathing and the nice herbs that they use and the calming and the feasting. And then she said, and what do you do afterwards? And same sort of thing. And then she said, well, what if you stop the cutting? Had all the things that you do before and all the things that you do after, She said, at home where I come from, we don't have any celebration for our girls. They just start their periods and they don't really have, it's not like a coming of age or anything like that. She said, your ceremony is beautiful. Do you think you could manage it without the cutting? And she had a roll of ribbon in her purse, purple, I think. And she said, if anyone here, especially the cutters, if you think you could if you could do all of this without the cutting, take a piece of my ribbon. And everyone in the room took a piece of the ribbon. So she started with that trust and she went from there. Nothing judgmental, just a suggestion. So it's all about giving people suggestions. I think you should have gone.
Oh. Time. That was thank you so much for that story. And just a little bit to expand on that, you mentioned how like they implemented that in the community. Probably like, did that stay implemented, and how like with your menstrual kits, do they continue to be used, like the long-term impacts of the ribbons and after the kits get distributed?
Yes, thank you. The kits are made to last for 3 years. And I've been back to Kenya, for instance, 3 times now. And when I go back, I'll have people who are in the audience with their kit, and they'll say, I've been using this for 3 years. And yes, they do. And I have a close connection still in Kenya who has just asked me if I will send a kit for her daughter, because her daughter, who was 2 when I first went, has just started her period and she would like one. And yes, and as far as the cutting is concerned, even that whole thing has come miles. They have thought of other jobs for the cutters. And so even the cutters are supportive of not having cutting happening anymore. And so, yes, it's interesting that there are ways using trust to make changes that are on the positive for everyone.
Sure. So you addressed the issue of how to address menstrual inequity, but could you say a bit more about the cost of not addressing menstrual equity? That's one of the chat questions that we received.
Oh, good. Well, I think that's all in terms of, how the world is, that it's all fine and good to live in Canada, where many of us are privileged and have no knowledge of this type of problem, this type of absolute abject poverty and the inability to even find a place that has menstrual products, let alone purchase them. And so I think, to think about that imbalance and to realize that in the long run, it's basically based on the theory, I think, of the UN. The whole point of getting together in our world and helping our world go ahead is for the countries that are going ahead to help the others along as well. And I think if we just ignore them, it'll be the rich get richer and the poor get poorer kind of a scenario. So I think that the cost in terms of helping other people because of disease and because of job insecurity and all the rest of it, economic problems, I think all of those things will be corrected to a large degree by menstrual equity, because women, for instance, will have jobs and secure jobs and help their countries move forward.
Thank you. So in your response, you mentioned that the Days for Girls kits are reusable. Most of the menstrual products we use here in Canada, however, end up in the landfill. What can we use instead? What would you recommend?
Oh, that's another great question. I love it when people ask me things that I'm happy about. So sustainability is the key. We're looking for products that are sustainable, right? And I would like to start by talking about our kit, which is, you'll see a little bit more specifically now. There is the bag it comes in, initially the whole package. There is this little package, which is actually, it's fabric, but it's waterproof fabric, and that's for the soiled pads. As the day goes on, the menstruators can put them inside and carry them in their bag. The other things, there are 2 different components that make it up. There is a shield, which is this, and the side parts have dome fasteners on them and fasten around the underwear, and the liners, which are absorbent, fit inside. So I can do a quick little demo here. They fit inside like this, and they're interchangeable. So the idea is that this little hammocky thing fits inside the crotch of the underwear. The domes go around the back, and this part, the absorbent part, is interchangeable. It can be one if the flow is light, it can be one liner. If it's heavier, it can be two. It could even be three. And the idea is, as I said, they take them out when they're soiled during the course of the day and put them in the little transport bag, now called a carry pouch. And they also can be folded this way, so that if the girl thinks she's going to start her period, or if the person who has a period thinks she's going to start, thinks that the period will start, then we have this small and discreet, but it opens up and it's a shield with one liner inside. I'm bashing my microphone around here. Where is it? There we go. Altogether, they get 8 liners and 2 shields. And so that's enough to last them through at least 2 days, and then they wash at night. And the key that they're washable is really important, because of course, these, when they get them, they'll shout out, "Oh, it's good for the environment," and "Oh, it's, you know, I don't have to buy any," and they know all the advantages. And they also are just thrilled with the beauty of them, because they are pretty. We do choose nice fabrics. And I love to tell the story about the doctor I sat with before, when I first made my very first distribution. And I said to him, I was telling him all about it, and he was sitting during it, snapping and unsnapping. I'd given him one to hold, and he was working away on the snaps, and then he was putting it on his face. And I said, "So what do you think of these?" And he said, "I think my girlfriend would like one." So that was pretty awesome. So that's our kits. But also we have access to cups in Canada. We have access to cups and to menstrual underwear, both of which are good options for some people. And we also have some small companies, startups, that were made specifically by women who and those products that they're offering are similar to this, except they're more pad-like in terms of, you know, when you think about Always or Wings or any of the brand names, they're more like that in appearance. They tend to be white, and they tend to be maybe smaller and maybe more absorbent, have some advantages, but they are also made of biodegradable fabrics. And so there are good products like that. One of the shortcomings of ours in Canada is that they're not really dryer friendly. So for people who use dryers, most people do. And secondly, they are the bright colors. I told you why they're bright colors. In Africa, that's perfect, because it hides the fact that they're actually menstrual products, which is a privacy issue for a lot of the girls. But here, I think our products are available, and we do have communities who are using them. There's a community near here who uses products from my team, and I'm very happy about that. But it's not a big section of the Canadian lifestyle to pick up to choose washable products. And if they do choose washables, they probably want something easier and something lighter, LIGH, as in lighter weight. I think if I could add one, sorry, I just thought of one more thing. I glanced down and saw about 6 words that I meant to mention. But I think the key thing is to give the person who has the period choice. And that's one of the things that I think is really important for our government moving forward with their menstrual equity plan. I don't think they should give everybody Always, or I don't think they should give everybody Tampax. I think they should give everybody a choice, whether they can afford them or not. We all should have a choice about what we want, what we need for our bodies, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that Canada right now is very much more into disposable menstrual products. Do you ever envision a time or moving forward where it will become more majority reusable products or washable?
And what would it take to get to that point?
Well, I think days like today are really helpful to get more people talking about it. My daughter, I know, has known that I've been doing this for 10 years, but it wasn't until she was in Australia during COVID, and she was having difficulty finding the product that she normally used, that she wrote to me and said, "Mom, will you send me a kit?" And it was the first time my own daughter had asked me for a kit, and she still uses it. She uses it mostly at night, because at night it doesn't matter that it's brightly colored, and they sure are absorbent, and she doesn't mind washing it. I think it's like babies' diapers, though. I think that, you know, there are still a very small portion of the population that will choose to wash their child's diapers. If you could get a diaper service, that makes it really easy. You can put those stinky old things on your front porch and they're gone when you come home from work, and there's a clean set there. If it was the same with menstrual products, maybe more people would switch faster. But I think maybe there's a necessity. There's a time coming when it will be more of a necessity. And I hope that people start being more responsible soon. And I also think that the biggest breakthrough is the underwear, because I know both of my daughters during the day now use menstrual underwear.
Do you want to ask that?
Yeah. Oh, so we have another question from the chat box. The question is, do you foresee a time where we will have menstrual product washing services like a diaper service?
That was funny. I sort of expected. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a niche for someone. There's obviously with people with the right laundering machines, and the desire to start up a small business, you know, if they're entrepreneurial in nature, that could be the case. But I also think that it might not be necessary if underwear is the way to go. I know that here we have, I don't know whether all across the country you have Joe Fresh, but we have this great Canadian superstore store, and Joe Fresh is the brand name inside. Joe Fresh is coming out with period underwear. And so when it becomes that common, I think maybe people are just going to throw it in the wash with everything else, which is what they say you can do. And I don't think maybe pre-soaking is going to be as much of an issue as people worry about. I don't know. I hope it becomes more universal.
We have another question in regards to the reusable washable product.
Is the reusable and washable an issue for menstruators who are precariously housed or who don't have access to clean water to clean their reusable product?
You've just named two of the groups, and there are more than two of the groups that we really can't help with our reusable products. And in many cases, it will be the same, with the exception of the cup. The cup is something that most, even people who are unhoused or homeless, we're finding that they can take they can go into McDonald's and ask for a plastic cup, for a plastic drink cup, and use it to wash their cup in the washroom. So a cup is a good solution after they've been trained and know to wash their hands and all of that. But I know it breaks my heart. We live in London where there's I think the latest number is 1,000. There are 1,000 homeless people in London, Ontario, and we see them on a very regular basis. And I would love to give them all a kit, but I know that they would be disposables for them because they do not have access. And it's the same with some of our Indigenous communities. They do not have clean water. And if you cannot wash the washable products in clean water, then they're no good to you. And again, they become disposable. And when you put as much work into putting a kit together as we do, you really don't want them to become disposable. So it's a fine line, finding who they're good for. And I think that finding people to fund, people who have the generosity to fund and enhance the distribution of usable things that are practical to those communities. That's a really important thing we have to do in the future.
So then it is a goal right now for Days for Girls. Like, are you expanding your product lineup to also reach those people that aren't able to use the washing products?
Yes, we're very lucky. We have Diva has given us a good supply of cups, and we have a kit that's called a hybrid kit, and we can put in it in anything that the group wants. And so my team, for instance, put together at a church nearby, they put together a table that was like going shopping with, we put our kits there, we put whole ones, we put partial things, and then we put cups, and we didn't have any underwear at the time. That will be on the next one, but we allowed people to go along and we told them they could pick 3 things. And so, but only 1 cup, right? So, but it was interesting because the uptake on cups, especially among the younger people, the youth who are homeless and the youth who live in group homes, they love the cups. And so, I mean, they don't need the same kind of education that the people do when we do our distributions in other countries, but they do need some education. And so we are right there with education for them as well. And then we give them, through this hybrid system, we give them what they think they need.
Thank you. And as you continue on this topic of Canada, for the next, we have about 5 minutes left. Would you like to continue to share these projects that you have going on within Canada?
Oh, I would love to. I've just been hemming and hawing over which one I would tell you about, because I know I go on about these things because I'm so into them and enthusiastic about them, but I need to tell you about menstruation, since that's how we started this event today. Francis was talking about menstruation. And menstruation is something that we're having a lot of fun with this month. We're calling it a fundraising campaign as opposed to a fundraising campaign. And the idea is that you have red painted thumbs and you make what we call a mycicle, which looks like a uterus and 2 ovaries. That's your mycicle. And we are challenging people to take photos of their mycicles in odd places or just anywhere at all, and create things and enter them. We're having a photo contest online, and so it's Days for Girls Canada, our Facebook page, and also Instagram. And so we're collecting these photos and we're going to blast them on there as soon as our collection expands a little more. But we have had wonderful ones so far. We've had a mycicle built for 2, where we have 2 people standing side by side, and one is doing half of the mycicle and the other is doing the other half of the mycicle. And people are coming up with really, really cute things. One team, our president's team, actually sent a mycicle photo, and every person on her team is making a mycicle, and all you see is all the hands coming in from all directions in mycicles. And so it's really fun. And the thing that we've noticed is that every single person who thinks about or talks about or who makes a mycicle is smiling because it's funny. And that's the whole concept, is that we want to break down that stigma, start that conversation, get that big red elephant right out of the room and get talking about it as a healthy, normal process. So that's my favorite campaign. How much time do I have left?
So 4 minutes.
Yeah, we have about 4.
Well,
Well,
so I'm going to interrupt if I may. Yeah, that's okay. I'm just so excited about menstruation. I mean, where have I been for the past 50 years not knowing about all this? So I'm so grateful to you, Jill, and to the other people who are working in this effort to make menstruation equity happen. And of course, so grateful to the girls and Miss MacArthur for bringing this topic to light today. I wonder though, Jill, would you just go over the idea again that menstrual health is human rights? That to me, when you said that, was so powerful. Quite frankly, some of the time I'm cheering wildly, and other time I'm sad that not all girls and women are able to have wonderful menstrual experiences. So please tell us why menstrual health is human rights.
Okay, well, I would go back again to the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, and they have created these to make a framework for what human rights are. What are our human rights as human beings in the whole world? And they have 17 of them, and you can look them up. And when you look them up, you will say, oh yeah, menstruation, one of them is education. Well, menstruation is certainly part of that. And you can just go through, and there are 9 of the 17 that are part of menstrual health. And just the fact that each of them is a human right, and menstrual health is connected to 9 of the 17 of them, means that, to me, it means that it's a huge human right. And I think that people are beginning to get the message. It's really encouraging what's happening. And of course, May is sort of Menstrual Health Month, because the 28th of May is Menstrual Hygiene Day, and which was established some time ago now, I think 2014, gets bigger every year. And we've taken menstruation as a lead up to that day. And we want to celebrate the whole month of May as menstruation celebration time. And I think that the message is getting out there. People are starting to talk about it. I recently was in a shopping cart line at a checkout in a store where I was buying washcloths for Days for Girls, and I had a cart that was heaping with washcloths, and the person behind me said, "You have a lot of washcloths," and I said, "They're going to make a lot of girls really happy." Well, you see, in each of our kits there is a washcloth, right? Because we teach them about the sanitation part of it and the hygiene part of it. So so this gentleman who had asked me about I thought I might scare him off by telling him about the girls, but he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, my team makes menstrual health kits, and they're for girls who don't really have any control of managing their periods." And he said, "Oh, I wish I'd known about that when my daughters were growing up. I spent thousands of dollars on menstrual products."
And that's true. Between $500 and $7,500. The average woman spends on menstrual products in her lifetime. But I'd like to turn to Kate and Sophie and ask you, what have you gained out of this virtual pink tea by listening to Joan and doing the research on this product, on this idea?
I feel like for me, I've learned that there's so much that can be done, and looking at our local community with school, we need to continue to expand and work forward. I know Sophie, especially, we're involved in a lot of clubs with that, and how we can push this message that we learned through the pink tea out to the community, so we can talk about it, so everyone holds their dignity.
Yeah, I think that what I learned is like the education is so important and crucial. Like, I think I hadn't realized just how much, and I think that there's still so much to be done with the education.
Yeah, as I said, I never knew menstruation was so exciting. And so I'm so thrilled that still to be called a menstruator, this type of advance for women's rights is happening. And so now,
and do you know there's now an emoji for menstruation? There is an emoji for menstruation.
Yeah. We'll have to find it and put it on our thank you email that goes out to everybody. Thank you for that, Jill. But now is the time for us to say thank you to the four of you, to the amazing four of you. And so I'm wondering if everybody has their teacup, or I'm having a mug in light of Red Dress Day, or a glass or whatever, so we can say thank you very much to these amazing women. And I would like to first of all start with Jill. Wow, Jill, what an extraordinary presentation you have made for all of us today. We've learned so much about why it's important that we pay attention to menstruation, because it raises the importance of women and certainly the self-esteem of women. So Jill, to you, thank you very, very much for today and for everything that you do for Days for Girls Canada. To Jill, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome.
And I'm hoping in our follow-up email, we will also include the names of some of the other organizations that are working hard to have menstrual equity as a fact of life in Canada. In getting ready for this, I looked at the formal platform campaigns for all the major political parties, and I see that both the Liberal Party and the New Democratic Party have a policy to achieve menstrual equity in their formal platform. In PEI just recently, they had an election, and all four of the political parties, the Conservatives, the Liberals, the Greens, and the NDs, all had menstrual equity as part of their program. So it is moving along bit by bit. And today would not have been possible without all the hard work and the research, the fun that the team from WIC has contributed. And so we'd like to say a special thanks to Kate, to Sophie, and of course to an amazing teacher. Hooray for teachers.
Hooray.
Miss MacArthur. So to Kate, to Sophie, and Miss MacArthur, thank you very, very much. And a last toast, please, of thanks to the other program participants, to Addison, to Kira, and to Joan for her introduction. They all added to the success. They all were singing with the choir, weren't they? So to Kira, to Addison, and to Joan, thank you very, very much.
and to singing with the choir.
Yes, wasn't that wonderful? To Carolyn too, of course.
And
so
to you,
now-
Frances, thank you so very much for pulling this all together. Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you. To the
Thank
Famous
you
Five
so much.
Foundation team. That's
you.
how kind. Thank you. And now I'm going to ask Jill and Sophie, Kate, and Nicole just to relax for a moment by turning off their audio visual. They're not going away because they're coming back at the end, but they've been working hard over this past 45 minutes, and I'm sure you would agree that they deserve a little bit of a break. So I'm going to now move to the section about Famous Five News. And we have a very exciting project to announce. About a month ago, less than a month ago, we received a request by a company, an audiovisual, a digital voice recognition AI company, to work with us to create 2 new AI humans. Virtro is the name of the company in Vancouver, would like to create Nellie McClung and Emily Murphy as AI humans. And they are collecting information, they're putting it through all their processes so that hopefully by this October 18th, our 94th anniversary of the person's case, you will be able to chat with Emily and Nellie, be able to ask them all sorts of different questions because they don't have rote answers. They think their AI human brain thinks about all the information they've collected and then responds to your questions. So that will be tremendously exciting for this fall. And then hopefully next year, we will be able to also add Louise, Henrietta, and Irene. To do this first part with just the 2, Nellie and Emily, to bring them to life, it will cost us approximately $50,000. And so I'm hoping that there might be some viewers today that would like to participate in funding this project so that when we finish the project and turn it over to schools, to libraries, to museums, and to other organizations, the conversations will begin, information will be transmitted, and women and girls will be inspired to be leaders. This October, October 18th, as I have mentioned, is the 94th anniversary of the person's case. And if you are in Calgary, please come to our pink tea on Sunday, October the 15th. It will be in the Crystal Ballroom of the Fairmont Palliser Hotel, one of 4 places only where the Famous Five were together as a team. Deanna Workland and her team are making it a very special pink tea. So if you are in the area, please come. Maybe just for now, put a save the date in. And if you're not in Calgary, then please start thinking about how you're going to recognize next October 18th by organizing your pink tea with your friends and getting ready for the 95th anniversary next year, where we are hoping to have, we are planning to have, we are working towards having hundreds and hundreds of pink teas across Canada. So women come together, are grateful for our lives here in Canada and to the people that have improved life here, but also to think about how we make a better country. If you happen to be in the Halifax area on October 18th of this year, please come to Mount St. Vincent University. That's where the Famous Five will be, and we'll have a special day of programs and a pink tea. So if you're in Halifax, please come. Mount St. Vincent is the first and only all-female student university in Canada, and they are celebrating 150 years of academic excellence. If you live in the Toronto area, the Famous Five are still at the Ontario Legislature. So do think about how you can visit them before the end of June. And do start thinking about the 95th anniversary next year, 15 months away. Our next virtual pink tea will happen on June the 2nd on a Famous Five Friday. And that will be a discussion also by students, but this time about anti-Semitism. And it will involve a discussion of what it is and why it should not be. How can we defeat anti-Semitism? The students at King David High School in Vancouver will lead the discussion, and they've invited a female rabbi of which some people call themselves rabbas, Rabba, R-A-B-B-A's. And also we'll have the honor of having a woman by the name of Marie Duck, D-O-D-U-C-K, participating. Marie is a Holocaust survivor and an educator, an author. And so she will be with us also on June the 2nd. And I can't say goodbye without saying, if you live in Alberta, get out and vote. Voting day is on May 29th, but you could vote before. And Alberta holds the distinction that the leaders of the two leading parties, which are really neck and neck in popular support, are both women. And they're both former premiers. Danielle Smith for the United Conservative Party and Rachel Notley for the NDP party. Actually, Alberta has had 3 female premiers. Alison Redford was the first. So after May 29th, we will still have a female premier in Alberta. And hopefully that will spread throughout Canada, because every province has had at least one female premier. Saskatchewan and New Brunswick need to pick up their stocks because they haven't had one yet. But hopefully having Alberta's 3rd will encourage them to do so. And so now I'd like to invite back our extraordinary panelists today. Jill, please join us. Sophie, Kate, and Nicole, please join us so that we can have our final toast, which is to encourage everyone listening that we are all leaders. Everybody's voice is needed, as Carolyn said, singing in the choir. And so what we would like to do now is have you say in a strong, clear voice, to me, I'm a leader too. I'm going to count you down from 5. And then we'd like you to toast to each and every one of us to encourage us to play our part, as Jill, Sophie, Kate, and Nicole have done today. So shoulders back, deep breath in and out, and count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To me, I'm a leader too.
I'm a leader too.
Okay, we're going to just try this again. I probably wasn't as clear as I should have been. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To me, I'm a leader too.
Yes, you are. And thank you very much. Remember, the spirit of the famous 5 is within us. So continue to feel equal to high and splendid braveries. Merci, miigwech. Thank you for coming today. See you on June 2nd. And now it's over to Carolyn, and I hope you will all join in and sing with the choir. Merci. Thank you. Miigwech.
Yeah.
Eyes front.
You might sing high, you might sing low. We need you singing in the choir. You might sing fast, you might sing slow. We need you singing in the choir. You might sing sharp, you might sing flat. We don't care one thing about that. Please don't leave, come on back. We need you singing in the choir. All together now, 1, 2, 3, everybody sing along. All together now, 1, 2, 3, feel the power of the song. As our voices blend together, hope keeps rising higher. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir. We might sing good, we might sing bad. We keep on singing in the choir. We forget all the blues we had when we're singing in the choir. We might sing big, we might sing small. It doesn't matter one bit at all. Everyone is standing tall when we're singing in the choir. All together now, 1, 2, 3, everybody sing along. All together now, 1, 2, 3, feel the power of the song. As our voices blend together, hope keeps rising higher. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir. Many voices fill the air, many melodies are sung. Inside the circle of the song, we are one. All together now, 1, 2, 3, everybody sing along. All together now, 1, 2, 3, feel the power of the song. As our voices blend together, hope keeps rising higher. We're all on the same page, singing in a choir. As our voices blend together, hope keeps rising higher. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir. We're all on the same page, singing in the choir.